Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear. Repping out my NIU Huskies today. I get to meet with them. It's always fun to meet with the team when they're coming off a 3 out of 4 weekend. So we're looking forward to that today. But today we're talking about, what do you say success looks like? All right. Well, the thought came to me a couple weeks ago when one of my coaches called me in the morning to tell me about responses that she received back to this question. Looking ahead to this weekend, what does success look like to you? Well, in this call that woke me out of a dead sleep, the first words out of her mouth were, "You're a horrible mental performance coach." Good morning. How are you today? And I obviously started to giggle for a second, hoping that she was just joking, but it woke me out of a dead sleep nonetheless. And we went on to have a conversation about the responses that she got back to that question. Some of them, of course, were filled with very positive things. Others had a positive slant, but that included some, I don't want this, or you get it, a little bit of saying what they don't want. And then some of them went to you go to the restaurant and you tell the waiter what you want, not what you don't want. Just like you go to the grocery store with a list of things that you want. You don't walk down the aisle and say, "I don't want the natural peanut butter because that's nasty. I don't want the Skippy. I want the Jif." Shout out to my Leadership Akron classmates that are bigwigs at Smuckers. But words matter. You may be reminded of the time that I mentioned Trevor Moawad and It Takes What It Takes. What a great book. I highly recommend that you check it out. But in that book, he said, words are tools. They predict and perpetuate our behavior. Follow that up with a 1990 study by Metzger et al. And they found that those who think negatively struggle more than those who think in positive terms on simple tasks. Well, you say those are thoughts, not words, but you know as well as I do that the thoughts that we have turn into the words that we use, which turn into pictures of what we see about ourselves. They guide our behavior. We think, feel, then act. Then we perform, and then we get results. And we talk to ourselves constantly. You are going to have the most conversations with yourself in your lifetime, no matter how long you're married. My great-grandparents were married for 72 years. And even though they were married all that time, they still had more conversations with themselves over the 104 years or the 92 years that each of them lived than they did together. So what are we saying to ourselves? What are we saying about success? What are the words that we're using? Well, so many times, we are literally writing down or thinking about the things that we're trying to avoid. And that does not mean I think we should just shoot for the stars if we're not prepared. Of course not. But we want to start saying what we want. We need to look at facts, think about what's possible, and then think about how we're going to get there. So if we're thinking about what success looks like, instead of using if statements or if this happens, or I'll try statements, or I don't want statements, we need to use powerful statements. In fact, if we think about what if statements mean, in my view, and you may agree with me, the if statement sort of gives power to the circumstance. If this happens, then I will do this, which is fine, but like, if this, then I'll try to do this. And the try is what Yoda said, right? With no try, just do. But we think about trying and doing, we're taking action in both things. The word try implies that we'll give some effort to it, and then we'll sort of test it out. But do implies that we are going to throw our effort at it and go and attack it. So think about saying, if we're giving our power up to something, try, we're giving a little bit of a effort, but doing implies we're going to really go after it. I'll take the do over the try any day. And then, of course, we talk about the I don't want. We are giving power to everything. I don't want this, or I'm going to try to avoid this. We're giving power to that circumstance there as well. Instead of saying, I will, or I'll do, or I want. Those are commitment statements. I will, I'll do, I want, instead of if, try, or I don't want. Think about the difference in those things. In the book Executive Toughness, Jason Selk, the author, says to develop mental toughness, we need to stop giving ourselves permission to have thoughts or conversations that highlight our weaknesses, negativity, or obstacles to success. Try, if, I don't want, don't fit into that statement at all. So apparently that is not how we build mental toughness. So we don't believe we're going to win. Or everybody says we're not going to win. We're playing a highly ranked team and everything, in all the stats, all of the rankings, everything says that we are not going to win. Well, as my dad says, we play the game for a reason. Right? If, otherwise, we would just put the stats up against each other and say, oh, they won, or oh, they lost because this is what this says. No, we always have an opportunity. So even if we don't really believe that we're going to win, isn't it helpful to look at the ways we can compete and learn and grow from the competition? We talked a long time ago about competition meaning working with as opposed to against. So we're getting better, and we're using words that say, in this contest, these are the things that we will do. This is what we expect. It's time to start using language that shows what we will accept, what we expect of ourselves, and what we want. Those words matter. Because again, words are tools, they predict and perpetuate our performance. Negative thoughts happen. It's how we're wired. We know that. They're going to come into our mind. And negative statements are going to come out of our mouth more often than we want. But here's our challenge for the week. We know that we don't control our thoughts. But it's always better to have a plan than to just let thoughts happen. Or when we do have negative thoughts, what are we going to do with them? Are we going to allow them to take up that precious space in our mind? Or are we going to replace them with something that will help us? So this week, my goal is to take an afternoon, a practice, a day, and see if I can stop verbalizing the negative thoughts that come into my mind. Let's try that. If we can just stop verbalizing them, that gives them less life. It takes the power away from them. In fact, we notice that there's a negative thought, and then we start to say something that makes that thought have life, and we stop it and we replace it with a question. Like I am going to ask Northern Illinois today to use the question over and over and over again. What can I do right now to make this situation even better? What solution can I find to whatever is in front of me? Because negative thinking is problem thinking. Not vocalizing that is keeping that problem from growing. So if we can move from if, I'll try, I don't want statements to I will, I'll do, I want statements, and making commitments, thinking about the things that we can manage instead of the negativity, building that mental toughness, taking one thought over another. Is this thought helping me? No, it's not. I'll replace it with something that is. These words that we have in our head, that we vocalize with our mouths, that we write down or text back to our coach, these words matter. So our goal this week is to notice our negative thoughts or the negative words that we're using in our head or outside of our head and try to minimize those. Can we go one whole day with that? It'll be hard. It's harder than we think. But that's the challenge for the week because our words matter. Words are tools. They both predict and perpetuate our behavior. And that's the focus for the week. What do you say success is? Is it I'll try? Or is it I want and I will? Until next week, I'll see you. Have a great week. If I can answer any questions or be of any help to you or your teams, please email me, juliej@ssbperformance.com, and have a great week.